It is not going to be a good day for a birthday party.
What?
It is not going to be a good day for a swimming birthday party.
No. So what? Any idea why I just pulled grass out of the kitchen sink? No? Okay. There was like a clump of grass or not in the kitchen sink, the bathroom sink. Never. All right, here we go. I like defining it at first. It's phase 2, video 2, phase 2. Do you want me to talk again, or was my intro too long?
Your intro was long, but that's okay.
Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, and...
Well, can I have a drink first?
Yep. What? Are you just trying to create the coolest, funniest behind-the-scenes bloopers?
No, sometimes whenever you drink, I think it's funny because this is what you do. You go... You swish it in your mouth.
Can you hand me my watch? Well, I think it's funny that every time I drink after you, I'm wearing lip gloss.
You're welcome. Makes your lips soft. You changed your watch band.
I did. Remember the gold one broke? It scratched me in Key West. So this is okay. This is a waterproof one. Survived this
Just
summer.
for the summer.
Yeah, I'll go back to the gold one later.
Okay.
All right, so...
Welcome.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Episode 2, which also represents phase 2. If you watched our first video,
Pre-divorce.
that was all about pre-divorce. And the whole reason Rebecca and I are here talking about pre-divorce, divorce, post-divorce, doing all of this is back down to our core message, and our mission here is to use our story of our relationship to help others. And so...
And who we are individually.
Yeah. So this episode, like I said, episode 1 was pre-divorce and all the mess that's associated there before the actual divorce process is kicked off. Remember, in phase 1, there's a lot of fighting. Sometimes there's in-house separations. There's somebody using the word divorce in a fight or a conversation. And that's a big, long, messy process that can happen for years. Now, you hear the horror stories about phase 2, which is the divorce process is officially kicked off. You certainly hear these horror stories. Oh, my divorce took 14 years or whatever. Those are more anomalies, right? I mean, what would you say in terms of how long? Once the paperwork is filed, what we've seen in our general sphere of influence and using our own examples, how long is this process going to be once the paperwork is filed, notwithstanding any crazy circumstances, financial, criminal, or otherwise?
But there are always crazy circumstances. We've known, let's say, 10 people in the last 6 months who have gotten divorced. They all take 6 months to a year.
I was going to say 6 months to 2 years.
Okay, great. I thought you were trying to get me to say something faster. It's a long process.
I mean, it could be 2 years.
It's a long process.
You should budget for 2 years, and if you can get it done before that, congratulations, right?
You're right. So let's tell everybody what we're going to talk about in this divorce video so they decide if they want to hang out with us for 30 minutes.
That's right. Yeah, so phase 2, divorce. This means we're defining the divorce process as an attorney has been retained on either side. That would trigger it. Maybe the divorce petition has been filed or served to the other. What happens is somebody has to be the petitioner and somebody has to be the respondent. Someone has decided they are going to go get an attorney and file. Or in some really good scenarios, 2 people can be represented by the same attorney and they can work through it together. And
Can I say something to this? Here's a tip. It doesn't matter who files.
It doesn't
matter who files. Doesn't matter if you move out and I file, I move out and you file. Doesn't make one person the bad one person the good one. In my divorce, it says green versus green. That's how the last names read.
Well, it doesn't predetermine you to who's going to get the house.
Who's going to get the kids.
It doesn't set anything in motion in terms of child support. It literally doesn't do anything. Right?
Other than just, hey, this person decided to be the administrator, the secretary, and go file the paperwork. What my divorce attorney did tell me is about 75% of divorces, the woman is the one who files. And he's like, my guess is it's because typically the woman handles more of like the administrative stuff. And she's like, fine, I'll go fill out the paperwork, because that initial paperwork is a pain in the butt. Now, both parties have to this is like not what I plan to talk about,
That's
but
okay.
Both parties have to fill out the same paperwork. So just because I do it doesn't mean you get out of it. Once I do it, though, he has to do it. So what they find is typically women are like, you know what? I'll go do the paperwork first and I'm going to do it while I'm mad too.
Would you, for our purposes of how we're going to outline this, there's another thing that happens, and I would probably call this a pre-divorce exercise, is you might meet with an attorney and choose not to file yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, we tell everybody to go meet with an attorney.
Yeah. In fact, I would tell you that even if your spouse is an attorney, the best thing you can hope for is that they hire their own divorce attorney. Because no matter what you think you're going to fight about,
or not fight about,
family law and family courts are undefeated. Every judge that sees a contentious divorce raps his gavel on the stand and says, you guys are now divorced. I made all the decisions. And it's based on a pretty solid set of case law as to who gets what. My whole point is that getting an attorney is not a bad thing.
It's a good thing. It's a really, really, really good thing.
And maybe that's something we miss in pre-divorce, is that a lot of, to be fair, a lot of people are meeting with attorneys and paying $250. That a lot of divorce attorneys are very open to say, hey, do you have an alternative method of paying for this that doesn't have a connection to your ex or your soon-to-be ex or your wife or your husband? It's okay to meet with me for $250 an hour and we just talk through it. That's a pre-divorce function. I think divorce is you've retained an attorney, like you actually pay the retainer fee.
$5,000 to $10,000.
Right? And then from that retainer fee, that attorney says, hey, I'm going to send him a letter. Do you want me to send them the petition? Do you want me to serve them at work or at home, which is kind of an embarrassing thing? Hopefully you have a divorce attorney or a receiving party on the soon-to-be respondent who's just going to be like, look, I'm going to divorce you. I can serve you at work, or our attorneys can work together and you can just accept service. But either way, once that happens, the divorce process has kicked off. Yeah. We are in phase 2. We're not pre-divorce and we're not post-divorce. We're in the divorce process. And it might be 2 years. It may be longer, but
it might be shorter.
But this is an intentional phase. Unlike pre-divorce, there's really not a lot of questions here.
Yeah, right? There's just a process you're following. So let's outline what we're going to talk about. And like we said in the first one, we went back to our chat GPT, who guided us through a lot of the divorce process, helping us with like education and even some good mental health tricks on how to talk to and think about our spouses, and said, hey, chat, what were all the questions that we had? And can you put it into like talking points for us for this podcast episode? So that's what we're referring to here on the phone. So the things we're going to talk about today, if we get to all of them, what we thought it was going to be like versus what it was actually like, working with attorneys, we kind of talked about that a little bit, separating a life while raising kids with this other person, when to do therapy, financial freakouts, and then also fighting fair with the other person while you are personally falling apart. So why don't you pick which one you want to talk about first, and we'll kind of just bounce around a little bit.
Yeah, I would start with working with attorneys.
Okay, great. So let's keep going on that.
So I would say, it's one of the salacious things that gets, I got a lawyer.
I'm going to have my attorney call.
I'm going to have my, and you think it's some intimidating or threatening thing. And
because they say it as a threat.
Yeah, they say it's a threat. Well, to be fair, it is an escalation. It takes you from step 1 to step 2. It is an official step in the process. But as long as you have a good attorney who's not there to just make money off of you, what they're messaging to you is going to be like, hey, look, this process is going to suck and it's going to be expensive and I will guide you through it. And there will be some things that you think you know that I will teach you. I will need you to provide a bunch of information to me as your attorney that will help me understand what you want. And then they'll ask you, what do you want? Do you want half of all the things and child support or alimony? Do you want the house? Do you not want the house? What about the retirement accounts? They've all got official intake processes to help them feed all those things. But I also want people to understand that, like, an attorney is hired to give you legal advice.
Right.
And that's good and bad. That's good because you can follow that advice and understand that there are only certain things that you can do within the bounds of the family law process. But at the end of the day, if you disagree with a part of their strategy, you're still the client.
Right.
And you're allowed to disagree.
Right.
And they are the attorney that you hired to represent you, and they do need to act on your behalf too. So it's a weird place because you're thinking they're going to be like law enforcement. Hey, you're my attorney. Can you go tell my ex they can't do this? Not really. And the weirdest example is like when there's 2 people in a house and one person moves out and the first person that's still living there locks the house. If you're on the title at the original home and you want your stuff, you can break the doors and windows to get into your
Legally.
own home because you legally own the house and you can't get charged with property damage for your own property.
It's wild.
And that's the stuff that, like, when you work with an attorney, they're going to make sure you understand that just by moving out, you haven't forfeited your money, your rights to your kids, your car, your house.
It's all joint property until the day of divorce. And one thing that my attorney was great about being super clear with is he's like, you guys have an agreement in place to kind of tide you over while you get through the divorce process. But if anybody changes their mind at any point, your agreement, whether it was sent in an email, in writing, doesn't matter.
It could be notarized.
It could be a notary. We had notarized documents in my divorce, signed and dated, and that didn't matter because it wasn't actually signed on by a judge, and that wasn't the divorce process. Nobody cared other than, like, you said that. And Davey would always make fun of me because, like, when you enter into a new relationship with somebody, it's funny because there's pieces of your old relationship that they get to see. And one thing that would be said a lot in my old relationship was, for the record. Right. It would be like, you say that a lot, right? And the record doesn't matter. And I'm like, that's a good point. It's a fair point. The record doesn't matter until you're actually divorced. I'll let you keep going on that. And then I'm going to say a little something about house and real estate.
Well, I was just going to say that, like, you work with an attorney, you get divorced. And I think there's a lot of uncertainty, like, is this a civil or criminal procedure? Right?
Yeah.
This is a civil procedure.
Right.
The formation of a marriage is a business, basically. You're forming a business together. And the separation of that marriage is a business agreement. And so what you're going to do by the time you're done with this divorce process, you're going to have a new contract. All of the contracts in your marriage, if you weren't orchestrated by a prenup, are just marital law, your combination of assets and things like that. When you leave, you're just putting an agreement together on your new business relationship, which, by the way, you're going to be in business with your ex for the rest of your life.
It doesn't go away.
It never goes away.
It doesn't go away.
So therefore, you're on a document. And documents sometimes are only as good as the paper they're written on. And so you have this executed agreement. Well, guess what? When someone breaches a contract in the business world, what is your only remedy? Take them back to court. So, child support, custody arrangements, business, assets, things like that. So, when you work with an attorney during this phase, have realistic expectations about what the attorney can do for you. Mm-hmm. But remember, after the divorce, it's all back to two business partners trying to find a way to work.
Hey, we've agreed on this document now, and this is how we're going to move forward. I hope that when you agreed to it and you signed it, you meant it. And when I agreed to it and I signed it, I meant it.
Which means if you and I agree that you will pay for this portion of the expenses, that's based on your income levels at the time of your divorce. And if your income levels change, expect one party or the other to come back and want to renegotiate that. Mm-hmm. So if a spouse is hiding a new job, a new income, bank accounts,
and you happen
purchases,
to find it,
and you find it, or the reason for their termination.
Because they don't block you on LinkedIn.
They don't block you or whatever.
I'm getting close to crossing some lines.
That's right. That's right. But that's okay. Because we tell the truth. And look, that's something you need to know. An attorney will provide you the backbone to understand the legal framework by which you're going to have to play by the rules to get divorced. But at the end of the day, you are still in business with this person. If you have kids,
even if you don't, well, you own assets together.
Yeah, and you have to exit
even if you are married and have a rental house together.
Well, how about this? When you don't have kids, but there's such a disparity in income that there's spousal maintenance or alimony paid, that will exist forever until that person gets remarried. So kids or not, you're going to be in business with this person if you have kids forever. If you don't, for an elongated period of time. Because even if at the divorce, if you agree to, let's say you don't agree and you got to sell the house, guess what? You got to go through a house sales process.
A whole process.
Right?
Like probably one of you is living at the house. You're probably not both living there the whole time. It just gets really messy. And I think when we talk to people who are coming out of pre-divorce and into divorce, we always hear, we're doing it right. They're a good dad, or they're a good mom. We're keeping it together for the kids. We're both going to be better on the other side of it. People have a lot of times, good outlook. Because we've all, I think, seen couples who are good divorced couples where they're like, hey, they're co-parenting well, they both seem happy and healthy, this was the best thing for them, and everybody wants to be that for the most part. Right? Like you want to come on the other side of it healthier and better. But what people don't realize is how messy dissolving a business gets. And I'm just going to give a couple of examples here. Number one, typically, not both partners here have not been able to pursue their career dreams the way they would have if they hadn't been married. It's difficult for both people to have a family and be devoted to their career. So one person may have a large income because the other one decided they're going to stay home and raise kids, or they're going to work, but not the job they would normally work because we can't both be traveling all the time. Whatever the case may be, now you come to the divorce time and I'm really angry with you because you took your pretty big salary and went and bought a house, and I'm stuck. I can't buy a house because my income is not what it should be. And so there are things that come up where, depending on what the back and forth was in the marriage and what you fought about, this is my time to be like, guess what? Bet you miss me now, don't you? And people get real salty, even when their intention at the beginning wasn't to be that way. Because I have yet to see a situation where both people are like, that's the best thing to do. Here we go. You know what? So let's talk about that a little bit. It says what we thought it was going to be like versus what it was actually like. To me, we thought, whenever Davey and I started dating, I was like, hey, we've already been through mediation and I'm going to be divorced long before you are. And he hadn't even filed. Had you legally filed? No, because they were working on some house stuff. We'll talk about that later. And that's not what happened, because things get messy, messier than either of us.
Let's have some fun with this.
Okay, but let's be careful.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
You were certain. It was almost kind of a fun, flirty joke.
We had a notarized document in my divorce.
Rebecca was like,
I was done.
She's competitive. You're right. Hey, I'm going to get divorced before you. And I was like, at the time, I was like, well, you've already been through mediation. You have a signed thing. I haven't done mediation. I haven't filed. And so I was like, yeah, you probably will. In fact, what was ironic or interesting is that our filing dates or our court dates were similar at one point, right?
Right.
And it was
Weren't they in the same week?
It was in the same week, yeah. And so as we approach both of those dates, I'm realizing that I'm not going to meet my date because things are still being negotiated. And you just got started over at square one. So the race is on and I now have the lead. However,
100% of the time, things went differently than you expected.
That's an incredible lesson for people.
Yes.
Is that while you're in the middle phase, when the divorce is happening, it's not pre-divorce. Now there's a lawyer. Well, that means now there's a lawyer on your side and a lawyer on their side. And now all of the other things that we talked about in the first episode about going and telling your family what's going on, because now there's actually physical separation of two different houses, you have to be very careful. Because if you use the hiring of a lawyer or the divorce petition as a way to now start talking smack on your ex that you share kids with, you're about to get caught in your own spin cycle, right? So what we thought it was versus what it actually was is it's now even more critical that you control the message.
Yeah, and I said this at the end of the last episode. I'm going to say it again, probably 18 more times. You want the person that you're divorcing to be in the best mental, physical, and emotional state possible, because you're still tied to them no matter how badly you don't want to be, whether there's kids or not. And in most cases, it seems like there are kids. Most people have kids and then get divorced because we all think an extra baby or a bigger house is going to fix it. It doesn't.
It does not.
But we have all this mess now to dissolve, and we're both emotionally broken because, gosh, divorce is difficult anyway. But on top of that, if me and my friends and my family are constantly dogging you to anybody that'll listen, it just puts me in a worse situation. And you are still my business partner.
Yep.
It's like you're crushing your own business.
You are crushing
it's
your
awful.
business.
And yet most people, usually, this is what we've seen. Most marriages have one person that's doing it.
Yes.
Worse.
Yeah, it's usually one person lighting the fires. It is one person tagging the other person on social media with erratic posts. It is one person saying bad things to the other person's
triangulating the friends,
triangulating the children,
threatening.
Right?
It's typically
making the kids feel like now their life in the other parent's house is unsafe or weird, or that they don't have any control or knowledge, and it spins everyone up. And it's the worst thing. It's what they refer to as high conflict divorces. It is parental alienation of the children. It is emotional and physical, sometimes abuse. It's ridiculous when You make the decision as a divorcing individual to say bad things to anyone,
Anybody.
other than a mental health professional, doctor, marriage counselor, lawyer. If there's no official, spousal privilege or patient provider privilege, or that this is your lawyer, there's no real true architecture by which the things that you open up to this person will stay in that relationship, legally licensed or otherwise. Whatever you say to one of your buddies or your family members, they're going to tell 5 people.
And here's the thing. It gets back to the kids.
It gets back to
and
the kids.
And that is the hardest piece in the entire world. Maybe you're my best friend and I just vent to you and I tell you whatever. Well, then you have coffee with somebody else and that's the story they tell. And then when my kids and I walk into the pool, everybody in the neighborhood has a specific story because I told one person. And I guarantee that story is not only not the truth of the story, but it's been blown up and everybody added details and it gets so messy so fast. And at the end of the day, it's just a hurting person.
Business.
But it was me. If I share as a hurting person to somebody and it causes more pain. Mm-hmm. So be very, 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 I'm not even going to say careful, but laser focused on making sure that you are not talking about your divorce to anyone other than a mental health professional.
Your lawyer. And if it's somebody like that.
You're not even your family to some extent. If your family
might be the worst.
That's what I was going to say.
Right.
Your family might, if they weren't supportive of your marriage and you've seen that they were like trying to separate it from the beginning and they didn't like that person, they're going to add so much fuel to an unnecessary fire that just be careful. Be aware if you want that fire burning over here because it feels good to be able to talk to these people about it, they might be causing even more of a problem than you ever realized.
If you want pain and suffering and consequences and you want your ex to learn, you will not achieve it by saying bad things about them. The only person you will hurt is your children.
And yourself.
It always comes back to the kids. It will always come back to the kids.
It'll hurt them the worst because they're the link between the two. You've lit this fire over here trying to hurt this person. You know what happens? The kids have to go into this fire and this fire and this fire and this fire. And that's not how it should work.
It's not at all. It's not at all. And it is just so, it is probably the most undereducated part of the divorce process is shutting your mouth. Shutting your mouth. And you have to have talking points in pre-divorce.
That's what I was going to say. Let's talk specifically about some good tips for talking points with kids. And this, again, is trial and error. We did some of these right. We did some of them wrong. I personally think, and after talking to child therapists, child psychologists, attorneys, I mean, we've been hours and hours and hours and hours on this stuff. When two divorcing people can have the same rhetoric to the kids, that's what's best because the kids live one life and it might be a specific life with me and a specific life with their dad, but that is all one life. So when both parents, no matter how much they're not getting along, can help the kids have the same message, which is, let's talk, we haven't written this out, but let's talk about some messaging to the kids that would be really healthy to hear from both houses.
Well, I think it's important to remember that kids are egocentric. And that they are always saying, okay, you're getting divorced. What's in it for me?
What's that mean for me?
Okay, we're moving. What does that mean for me? Where am I sleeping? What about my stuff? My stuffed animals, my snacks, my shoes, my soccer gear.
Very different. Mm-hmm. Yes. Let's say a kid is concerned about all those things. Mm-hmm. What about my shoes, my shirt, where am I sleeping, my soccer gear? Mm-hmm. Here's the two different messages. You know what, babe? Mommy and daddy are going to work on that so that you feel safe and loved at both houses. Versus, I guess mommy will just have to go buy all that because daddy moved out and he took everything with him whenever he went. But don't worry, mommy loves you and you're safe here.
Yeah. Those sound completely different. I mean, a child therapist once told me that it can be at the simplest level. It's making sure that the kid, if they want it and ask for it, has the same brand of fruit snacks in both houses.
And have we not been asked for that? Right.
Yeah. Hey, can you make sure I have this at mommy's house? Can you make sure you guys have it? Because I really like it. Yes. If you have a broken relationship with your ex, you can't communicate about that. But that's the most basic
level. If your family's called and tore them down every time, they're not going to want to chat with you about fruit snacks because they know what you're saying about them. And you've got to be so careful in this phase.
How about this one? Hey, can I have this at mommy or daddy's house? The most important thing you can say is, 1, ask for what you want. And 2, say to them, that's their responsibility at the other house. And I support them.
That's,
and I think because otherwise,
I think you need to clarify that a little bit, because
Yeah,
how you
yeah.
said it was confusing.
okay, so let me say it the way you shouldn't do it. I don't know. That's your mom's problem.
So a child says, "Can I have that at mommy's
Don't
house?"
know. That's your mom's problem. Figure it out. Right? Oh, she
She
probably
makes
won't.
enough money; she'll be able to buy
She'll
it.
figure it out. Right? There are moments of clarity and communication that have to happen. It's not just about the fruit snacks, but hey, where's the soccer ball?
Right.
Right?
Do you have the soccer ball at your house for soccer this week, or do we have it?
Right.
And
if you have a broken relationship, you can't do any of that.
Right.
Right? Because there's
But
no trust.
let's go back to the helpful tips.
Yeah, the helpful tips are
what to say to kids, good rhetoric in both houses.
Yeah, I think sometimes, man, there's just so much on this. And so you'll have to keep me on track because I have so much to think about here. I think sometimes those kids come in and they naturally feel the tension and they don't want to upset the other parent based off of something that happened in the other person's houses. And so the children accommodate. And I think one of the biggest pro tips is to know that your kids are in the middle.
Kids are in the middle, and the kids are liars.
Yes,
we
they
love
do
them,
lie.
but the kids do lie because it's scary, and because they know something that happened at daddy's house might make me feel a certain way. And so they're going to tell me a different story because
Or
they
leave it
love
out,
me. And
lie by omission.
Yeah,
right?
your kids are not. Here, let's start with tips, and I'll go. Maybe you talk about these.
Yeah.
Your kids are not accurate messengers between houses. They shouldn't be messengers. And even if they are a messenger, their stories are not accurate. They're jaded by child memories. They're jaded by emotions and trauma. They might even be jaded by what the other person has told them to tell you. Your kids are not active messengers. You have to find a way to trust the co-parent in any divorce situation to work together for what's best for the kids. That's my tip number one.
Do not communicate schedule changes, vacations, school activities,
bedtime,
transportations.
Hey, what time do you go to bed at daddy's house? Kids shouldn't tell you that. He's going to say 10 o'clock.
None of that.
Right.
None of that should be discussed as a way to transfer messages or anything between the parents. It's the adult's job to convey those messages back and forth to the kids. And in the vacuum, when you don't, they make stuff up.
They make stuff up. So many stories we've been like, that didn't happen at all ever. I don't even know where that came from.
Yeah, I would say don't use the kids as messages. And the other one that's really big, let's say there's a proposal to change the parenting plan, custody, or to do a new activity. Do not, under any circumstances, have that conversation about the divorce business, about schedule changes, activity changes, whatever, in front of the children. The worst thing that can happen is that the child asks one parent for something, and then that parent calls the other parent and puts them on the spot.
Hey, we're sitting here, and
we just want to know if you're going to approve our vacation.
Little Joey wants to go on vacation with us, and
is that cool?
Is that
cool?
With that, right?
Yeah, no, you're not going to approve a vacation while I have the kids on the phone.
Can I tell you something that's happening right now? We're getting really escalated to people who are here to learn, and we don't just need to rant. We need to give them tips. I
agree.
Okay, so let's go back to tips about how to talk to kids in divorce, or maybe we pick a different topic.
No, I think it's important. I think it's
maybe when to do therapy.
I think that's what I was just going to say.
Great.
Is a really good window into what it's like that now, post-divorce, things still piss you off. Things that have happened, not just to your kids or your kids.
Correct. We're not just talking about our marriages, because we've seen it in so many situations.
I mean, I've seen our good friends act like jerks.
Complete jerks.
To their exes.
Complete jerks.
It pisses me off because the kids are going to be the ones that suffer. You know, the kids and those people. And so while you're going through divorce, you've got to have some people that will tell you the truth. And telling you the truth, if it sounds like, if your version of the truth that your family, your friends, your therapist, your lawyer, your spiritual advisor, if they're all telling you anything about the other person and what they should be doing, they're not on your side.
You've got to take ultimate responsibility.
Ultimate responsibility. You are forget what caused us to get to this point. That's probably the biggest tip, is forget the past.
You have to.
Forget all of the pain that caused us to get to this point.
Let's pause on this for a second. You can't forget the past. You've got to go work through it in therapy for yourself.
Well, great nuanced way to say it. what happened in the past cannot affect how you parent moving forward.
Yeah, what happened in the past in my marriage, I almost have to look at if we're divorced. My marriage and my experience is closed, and now you're just my business partner. But man, I'm stuck with you,
right.
And now I have to just own it and be like, this is what I'm working with this person.
And we have to move forward, and we have to move forward, and we have to move forward, and we have to move forward. And so you've gotta find a way to regulate yourself. And getting around family and friends that just have their pitchforks and torches out ain't it.
Doesn't regulate you. It emboldens you to go back and make bad decisions.
Yes. And so I would say that's probably the big thing is lean on resources. And the best ones, because we believe in it and we know it works, is find some mental health professional that can
weekly therapy
you and coach you through it. And this isn't even to say that at this phase you're ready for co-parenting counseling. This is just taking inventory of yourself. And I think I always say to a lot of people, know that if you're sure that you want to get divorced and you've moved on and you're happy and you're in love or whatever, or maybe you're in a really healthy spot. Grief is nonlinear.
Right.
One day you're going to wake up and you're just going to be sad. And so you better have an outlet, because if your outlet is substance abuse or anger or lashing out or sex or drugs or anything, the kids are going to get hurt again. So I would say during this process, another thing to think through is you've got to take care of yourself. You got to love yourself again.
One of the things that I had written on my mirror during my actual divorce process was one step every day.
Yeah.
Because what I would do is it's how I function in my business. I have a list of everything that needs to be done, and I would just grind on it and try to go through and get as much done every single day as I possibly could. And I'd work and I'd work and I'd work and I'd work and I'd work. And it wasn't effective. And I was emotionally hurting myself. And it was way too much pressure, as opposed to when you're getting divorced and you're in the middle of this process, give yourself grace to take one step every day. And then one of my favorite things that you told me really early on in our, really just as a friend, even in the beginning, you were like, that's enough for today, Rebecca. You looked at me and I was a complete mess and you were like, what are you doing? That's enough for today. And I say that on repeat to my friends. That's enough for today.
There's a really good mental health strategy my therapist gave me, is that sometimes you are just spent.
Done.
And at some point, continuing to fight, continue to argue, to
look at paperwork,
to write drafts of email proposals, to have text message fights, you're only going to make the situation worse. And then too, okay, let's say you take that. I was also connected to, and that's enough for today. You're always better to respond after a night of sleep.
Yes. Good tip.
Go to bed. Go to bed.
Even if it's 8 a.m. and you're mad already,
sleep it off. Sleep it off. Right. Those are really important messages. Is that's enough for today, and a night of sleep. I think those are helpful.
Now, here's a good resource that we haven't talked about yet. There are co-parenting apps that hold up in a court. I'm not going to pretend to be an attorney. In the state of Missouri, text messages aren't evidence, because you could say really horrible, abusive, scary things to me in a text message. It doesn't matter because of all the ways you can change a name in somebody's phone. But if both parties agree to have a co-parenting app, there are several. The one I use is My Family Wizard, where anything that either me or my ex say in that app I can be admitted in a court of law, because he has a special login, I have a special login, and if something gets said, he said it or I said it on my end. It helps keep the communication a little more regulated, even if you know that person over there is just mother effing you. In the app, they might be a little bit nicer, because you could go to your attorney and be like, see what this guy says to me? This is how he treats me. I'm not in a safe place. It's a good middle ground to come to negotiate things, as opposed to emails, text messages, God forbid a phone call.
Yeah.
Okay, right? That's a good tip.
Well, another thing to remember too, in those apps, sometimes in really high conflict divorces, the court will appoint a guardian ad litem to monitor the communications.
To come in and go, oh, daddy talks to mommy that way. I bet he talks to the kids that way. That's good things to see. So there are some really important protections you can put in place if you feel like you need that.
Yeah. I think it is the most important phase to start rebuilding your life. You have to rebuild your life in phase 2 in the divorce process.
Boy, it's brutal.
It's tough. And you're talking about building routines and ways to get the kids to and from school. And
right.
It might,
Everybody's life changes.
One of the things that I know has, just from a demographic standpoint, been a conversation you've been approached by a lot is women who have made the marital sacrifice to step back in their career, and then they realize they have to get a divorce, and now they have this inflection point to decide, do I get the job and sacrifice some of the true support that I should have been entitled to because I had made an arrangement to not advance my career based on raising the children? But that's scary to depend on a divorce process to play out to get the money that's mine to survive every day. Or do I go get a job? And that's during phase 2, that's happening for kind of the underemployed spouse.
Whoever the spouse was, right, that wasn't chasing their career. Because you, I'm just going to, in this example, you as the spouse that have a great job and we've sacrificed our family time so that you can have your money, you're still getting those big checks. But when we change the bank accounts, well, now I don't have them. And it can be a reason that people stay in marriages that they shouldn't, is financial freakouts. That's kind of what we call it.
Yep.
And so one of the things that I talk with my friends about a lot is you're not making a forever decision right now. But one thing you have to prepare yourself for, it's like packing for a vacation. You've got to have everything ready. You are packing your life financially, emotionally, mentally for a really hard trip you're about to go on. And what I've seen, which is different than what I thought, but if I think of the last 3 conversations I had with women who made less than their partners and they were like, I've got to get out of this situation, it's time to go now, they all 3 ended up getting jobs. Now, the thing to think about that's scary with that is whenever you go to look at alimony or child support, a court's going to be like, you have to report how much money you're making now. And if I haven't had a job or my job wasn't as good and then I go get a job, now you as the breadwinner are going to be like, see, I told you could provide for yourself. Tough luck. Guess you just have to work this job you might not love now.
Right.
But you've got to decide, is that better, or is putting yourself in crippling debt better? Or is a job where you're providing for yourself better? Or do you wait and hope that your ex-husband doesn't totally screw the whole thing up and quit his job too? I mean, there's so many things. And I think I was giving people advice differently than I would now. And what I would say right now is you're in charge of your life, and you better get in a situation for the next 6 months to a year during this divorce process where you can take care of yourself, because you are a capable, smart and woman, man, whatever, whoever's in that spot, you are capable and you can do this. And it is not your partner's responsibility. It's not even their fault that they chase your dreams and you chose to stay home or take a back seat with the kids. That was your decision. And now, as much as I hate to say it, you have to own it, because I've seen people go through this hoping that they get child support and alimony and put themselves in really bad, scary situations. Now they're stuck. Now they're stuck with debt because they thought that you were going to keep your job and you just found yourself a sugar mama. You're out.
Yeah. I just think this is where sometimes that when you have a chorus of people that support you, you have a lawyer, you have a family, you have spiritual folks, you have friends. This is where there's going to be a lot of divergence in the advice.
Right.
An attorney may tell you, hey, don't worry. You're going to get this much in support. You're going to get this much in this, and you're going to get half the house. You're going to get these things. The only problem is, we talked earlier about how this can be a 2-year process. Are you willing to engage in that amount of risk to get what you want? That it, by the way, it probably will end up the right way based on how case law.
Sure.
But that's 2 years of uncertainty and risk. And sometimes where the divergence of the legal advice might happen is, okay, well, if I just lean into my lawyer, I know I'm going to get my stuff. I'll get money back. I'll get assets back. I'll get whatever.
He sounds like we're good. That's great.
But you might have to diverge, like Rebecca said. It might be emotional for you that you need to reclaim your identity that you sacrificed by being a partner in a marriage. And so that may be, well, your attorney says, well, if you go get this job, you're not going to be able to get as much in child support. But you may still need to do that for your own mental health reasons and reclaiming your identity or your life back.
And it's not forever. It's not forever. It's not forever. It's not forever. But for 6 months, you might have to go
get a crappy job.
Maybe you go serve at your favorite restaurant, and that's what it is. I think that, at least for me, what I experienced, having a stable environment where I felt empowered that I could take care of my kids and seeing other friends do the same thing, that had to happen.
Well, and I don't mind sharing a little bit of just a brief arc for me.
Sure, right.
I had a big corporate job with a lot of money. And then I went to a very small income, but with some equity in the business that I own part of now.
With a conversation in your marriage, and maybe we shouldn't say this, with a conversation in your marriage that, hey, you're going to step back and stop traveling and be able to do soccer practices and kid picks up and get kids to school for
and
breakfast.
be a better man and a better husband. And
it was a family decision.
Yep. I'm going to pull back. And we were in pre-divorce with that arrangement for months. And then when the divorce happened, an argument that you will run into, which is called imputed income.
Oh, you're sure of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is a real issue, right? Mm-hmm. If you at one point made a high salary and then at some point there was a contraction, the other person in your divorce can say, maybe it's a way to drive up the support that you owe them. Well, you actually are capable of making this money, so the number is going to be at that calculation. Or, hey, maybe the other person makes more money, and because you should be making this, I don't owe you any child support.
Maybe I got a 50% salary bonus last year, and that now it looks like I make this big dollar amount, but in reality, my salary is down here. And that's where the legalist system, on paper, when you talk to an attorney might go, hey, this is what this looks like, I feel good. But you have to know that there are so many ways that can get juggled around on the other side with the other person's attorney. It's not a foolproof, safe program that your spouse makes this much and you make this much. It just...
So we had to work through that. We had to work through what my income levels were, what they're going to be, what her income levels are, what they're going to be, and come to an arrangement. Because the tough part is that if you turn it over to the courts, they'll make a decision, and it may be good or bad or ugly. Sometimes in one side of this scenario, you might be like, boy, I just hope the court takes over. Yeah. But what both of our attorneys told us is you are buying a lottery ticket, because there is so much uncertainty with how a judge is going to rule. All the judge really has, and these aren't jury trials, these are bench trials. You go and present your case to a judge, right? Mm-hmm. And the judge is going to use all of the informative case law. They're going to use all of the circumstances.
Wait. You know what they're not going to use? Why your marriage failed.
Oh.
In the state of Missouri. This is different in every state.
Yeah, this is very important. It's a very important distinction. And I think Kansas is a fault state. And we got plenty of people that
it is.
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah.
There are fault states and no fault states, meaning like in our state, the judge is like, I don't care why your marriage failed. I'm just looking at the business assets and splitting them. Yeah. I know I have a friend who is divorcing in Tennessee, and the husband had an affair, and the wife is set to get everything because in Tennessee, it's a fault state. He stepped out on the marriage. She gets all of it.
Right.
So make sure you know where you're getting divorced, fault versus no fault, before you think you're taking your hiney to a judge, because the judge may not care about what you care about.
Typically, the fault only refers to infidelity, right?
Or a gambling problem. Right. I mean, I think there's some stuff.
You have to be very careful to understand what the laws are in your state.
We're not attorneys.
And consult an attorney and understand that. But there are certain scenarios where one party wants to relitigate every fight you've ever had in your marriage, everything you've ever done, and they expect that telling that story to a judge, to a lawyer, to a therapist, to Facebook, to the internet, anything will affect the business arrangement. And depending on the faultness or non-faultness of your state, that will affect it or it won't. In a no-fault state, doesn't matter. I can't tell you how many times we've heard from attorneys in the state of Missouri that are handling a Missouri case. Doesn't matter. Right. Your ex has a bunch of transgressions about how your marriage that literally does not matter.
You started dating while you were doing an in-house separation, and it made me really angry. Doesn't matter. You were texting girls and having them over while I was in the basement. Judge doesn't care.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't care.
Doesn't matter. Were the kids safe? The kids are safe. Okay.
Hey, did the kids play games with the new girlfriend? Yeah.
You guys met the new girlfriend already? Doesn't matter. Doesn't affect the child support. Doesn't affect the business arrangement. Doesn't affect the house.
None of it.
And if you're on the side...
In a no-fault state.
In a no-fault state. And frankly, again, even in a fault state, if you expect transgressions from your marriage to matter long-term, you're really missing the boat on the mental health. Because what the courts also want to do, too, is they want to equalize and normalize the child's experiences in both houses.
That's a good tip in this thing, yeah. Right? They're trying to normalize houses in each house.
I've also watched higher income earners in one of these situations say, I can't afford that. I can't afford that kind of child support. The court will make sure you can. And the way that they'll make sure is they'll use a form in Missouri. It's called a Form 14, But I got to tell you, the science of understanding people's incomes, assets, and expenses is very well documented.
Very simple.
And there's really not a lot of variance in it. It does come down to which way you list certain expenses, but men lie, women lie, and numbers don't lie. Where you're going to land on child support, alimony, expenses is documented by case
And
law.
here's the easiest thing to do. If you make $150,000 and I make $300,000, the court is going to say what?
The court is
You've
going
got
to
$450 together. In theory,
divide it in half.
divide it in half. And
It's going to be a way to try to make sure that one parent can't buy all the toys and games and activities and whatever, and the other parent is poor. And so it creates an unequal experience in both houses. And I got to tell you, if you're the high income earner and you expect to create a different experience in your lower income ex's house, the court will not let you do that. Now, there's only one caveat, and that it is a business agreement and anybody can agree to anything. And so sometimes people don't get good legal advice, or they're just so ashamed,
or they feel bad that they cheated and they're going to let you keep the lake house because maybe then you'll be nice to me.
Right.
You want to guess what we think about that?
But I will tell you, there was a time, my attorney was really good. You could tell he was reading from a prompt that he has as part of his process. He said, hey, Davey, by the way, we do have a signed offer sheet that I will take to a judge. He said, I just want to let you know, I don't see this a lot, but judges can use their discretion. They can take our agreement and throw it out and put their own in. So that can happen. But generally, when two people agree on an arrangement, the judge goes, okay, this may not look fair, but they've agreed. So let's get this off my desk. So during this divorce process, this phase 2, there's a lot of questions to answer. And I would just continue to say, what you need is you need a core network of people that support you, but you also need a variance of opinions. You need people to tell you different things.
Somebody who's been through it, maybe a friend who's going through it at the same time, if they seem to be the sane partner in the like, don't go get a bunch of toxic people. Although one thing I did realize in my divorce, I remember this really early on, is because I was being so public with everything about my divorce and sharing how it was affecting me, is I kept having divorced people reach out. And I remember looking at Davey and going, man, the world's broken. And at first I was like, I think just divorced people are really messed up. Like, they're really salty and have a lot of bad like emotions and energy around this. And then I had to look at myself and go, you're pretty salty too, Rebecca.
Well, I mean, you go back to the statistics, it's half the population.
Half the population is really mad at somebody else, and they're maybe raising kids with them.
Right. And so, but also you should take some solace in the fact that half of the population has been through this, and there's really good advice and counsel and shoulders to lean on and tears to cry with other people. And that's so important in phase 2, is to try to think about every question that you would think about as it relates. What are the core elements? Finances, co-parenting itself, living and transportation arrangements, school districts, activities, right? And these are all things that you got to line up on. I mean, you don't want to be in a situation where kid tells me they want to do an activity, then they go to your house and tell you they don't.
Right.
That means you're broken.
That means
broken co-parenting relationship. Y'all did it wrong. If they sit and they tell us they want to ride the bus to school, they want to go to summer camp, whatever, and then they go to the other house and say, no, I don't want to do that. That means, again, your kids are lying to accommodate your behavior. Somebody's broken that cycle, and that you've got to come together. So these are all the things in phase 2. It's like, I always think of it like when you file in a movie, when the flashbang grenade goes off and there's a ringing sound. Phase 2 during the divorce is a constant ringing sound in your ear. And the only way you can get it done correctly and have good discussions and make good decisions is to breathe and have people around you that support you, engage in mental health, and just try. And it's tough. It's just the toughest. I said earlier in the previous one, the pre-divorce phase, that can be a long burn, but at different levels of intensity. Don't get us wrong. This phase is the hottest fire. The water is boiling. It'll burn, the thermostat is turned all the way up in this phase. It is the worst phase. It is the hottest. You're flying closest to the sun.
Okay, so I think a really funny story that we can tell to wrap up this is the Great House Divide. So in a divorce process, once you've decided who's going to move out, which I should probably have a whole video on real estate and how not to mess that up. We won't talk about this here. Once one person decides to move out in this process, you're going to have a great house divide. And that is where all of your marital possessions have to get divided up.
The stuff and the things. Yes.
You take a blanket, I'll take a blanket. You take a blender, I'll take a blender. Right? And so it's one of the like things that can go really bad, but when you look back and it's funny, you're like, how tense was that? And also, who asked? Who was like, hey, tonight we're going to divide the stuff?
Yeah, that was that was just a process I think we thought we were supposed to do.
Right.
We basically did a stuff and things draft. Like it was the worst experience ever. You're like, oh, we have 4 cookie sheets. You get 2. Hey, we've got 3 coffee mugs. Well, I want those 2. Cool, I'll take this one. But when we get around to the bowls, I want one more.
I want that popcorn bowl.
It's painful.
I'm looking at the popcorn bowl that I took, and that's why I said that.
It's excruciating. And I got to tell you, the best piece of advice I have is somebody just needs to pick, go get new stuff, and then propose somewhere. Hey, how about we pretend that we were just buying a whole new round of stuff and we split that cost.
Right.
Right.
But it's one of those funny things that people get in fights about. I'm coming back to get my whatever.
Yeah. And my attorney was very clear. He said, please get the division of marital property done. Please get the please get the division of marital property done.
I don't care about the couch.
The court will certainly get involved in the house. Good way to piss a judge off is have the judge be involved in dividing the blankets and pillows.
We were watching an episode
or the dishes
of Cops the other night, and the cop came and he took the man out of the house, and he was like, that's my couch. It's right there. I'm coming back for this couch. And it just reminded me of the really funny, horrible, toxic conversations we've been a part of and heard from other people where you're fighting over something small, but that's not what you're fighting over. Right?
Do you realize the amount of people that are going to love the fact that you just said we were watching an episode of Cops the other night? Like,
first, lots of time for fun stuff.
All the people that are my greatest friends and from my hometown of Independence, Missouri, are going to be like, yeah, we've been on that show several times. So
I just discovered it, though. That's why it's a big piece of my life.
First
in the
reality
last
TV
30
show
days.
ever in the history of reality TV shows. I'm so glad I brought this to your life. This has been my single greatest contribution to our partnership.
Maybe.
It's teaching you Cops.
I think that's a good wrap up.
Bad boys, what you want? Can we play that in the outro? What you want, what you want, what you gonna do? Bad boys, bad boys.
53